In the heart of an ancient city stood a grand palace, home to the royal family whose bloodline traced back to mythical gods. The palace walls were adorned with murals depicting epic battles and divine interventions. Their isolation was absolute. No servant, no guard, not even the king's advisors were permitted to enter their chambers. Only the queen had access, and she was never seen without her retinue of maids and bodyguards. Her Majesty ruled over the kingdom with an iron fist, though many whispered that the real power lay in her husband, the king. But when she told him what she had seen, his reaction was far from comforting. He went deathly pale and grabbed her by the shoulders, shaking her violently. "You must never look into that mirror again. Do you hear me? Never." He dragged her away before she could ask any questions, and she spent the rest of the night crying alone in her room. Not only would her mother never allow it, but the thought of leaving her father, who she feared was fading away, filled her with dread. The princess, dressed in a gown that shimmered like moonlight, slipped out of her window and into the waiting arms of Dorian. To a tree, the princess swung herself into the saddle and turned to Dorian, her eyes shining with excitement. "We're free," she whispered. He nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. Then he spurred the horse into action, and they rode away from the only life the princess had ever known, heading into the unknown together. The princess had heard whispers of such a maze, a place where mirrors reflected not images, but memories and emotions. His love had given her strength in her darkest hours, and she knew that together they could overcome any obstacle. Hand in hand, they prepared for their journey back to the kingdom, each knowing that the fate of an entire family rested on their love and courage. If they could navigate the maze and retrieve the artifact, her family would be free of the curse. But if they failed, the curse would only grow stronger, eventually consuming the entire royal family. Together, they raced through the forest, the sound of the approaching guards ringing in their ears. They reached the edge of the woods and emerged into a small village, where they disappeared into the crowd. So she continued to plan her escape, meeting with Dorian every night and growing bolder with each passing week. For while he was often absent, deep in his studies or on mysterious missions, his return was always marked by the Queen's terrified compliance. When the princess protested that she'd gone to the king for help, the Queen flew into a rage. "Your family has been cursed by a powerful sorceress, and only the purest of hearts can break it." The princess felt a chill run down her spine. Purest of hearts. Could she be the one? But then she remembered the vision in the mirror, the image of her older self standing over a dead king, a dagger in her hand. Was she the curse? Had she killed her father? Or perhaps her mother? Nausea flooded her, and she leaned heavily on Dorian for support. Allowed to leave only to attend to her royal duties or to accompany her parents on rare public appearances. An old woman opened the door and welcomed them in. "I am the oracle of this land," she said. "And I have been expecting you, child of prophecy." The princess and Dorian exchanged uneasy glances. "Prophecy," the princess echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. "What prophecy?" The old woman gestured for them to sit by the fire. "You are here because the fates have chosen you to break the curse that lies heavy upon your family." The princess and Dorian stared at each other, their earlier excitement giving way to confusion and fear. Curse? What curse? Every night, after the Queen had retired for the evening, they would sneak out of the palace, scaling the walls and escaping into the forest beyond. There, beneath the canopy of stars, the princess felt free, away from the prying eyes and suffocating rules of the kingdom. It was there that she met a young man named Dorian, a handsome rogue with eyes as green as emeralds and a smile that could charm the birds from the trees. They fell in love quickly and deeply, and soon the princess was spending every waking moment she could spare with him. He understood her like no one else, and together they dreamed of a life beyond the palace walls, a life filled with freedom and true love. Meanwhile, the king grew more distant, spending most of his time in his own chambers, emerging only to eat or to consult with his advisors. And whenever he did, his gaze seemed distant, as if he were seeing something that was not there. The once vibrant man was now a hollow shell, and the sight of it tore at the princess's heart. "The king is my husband, not yours. You will not go to him again, nor will you ever speak of this mirror to anyone. Do you understand?" The princess, terrified of her mother's wrath, could only nod. Its towers scraped the clouds, and its gardens were said to hold the very essence of magic. But behind the palace's gilded gates lay a secret so dark it chilled the marrow in one's bones, a secret that even the bravest soul would hesitate to uncover. It was a mirror, ornately carved and framed with silver. "My precious," the queen said, her voice thick with emotion, "this mirror is no ordinary one. It is a mirror of truth. It will show you your greatest enemy." The princess, both flattered and confused, looked at her mother. "But how can I possibly know who my greatest enemy is?" The queen reached out, touching the cold metal. "Look inside, my darling, and you shall see." The princess hesitated, then stepped closer. As her eyes met the mirror's surface, a vision filled her mind. She saw herself, older, standing over a dead king, a dagger dripping with blood in her hand. Then the image shifted. She saw the face of her younger self reflected back at her, smiling sweetly and holding the same dagger. Terrified, the princess stumbled back, dropping to her knees before the mirror. Within the highest tower resided the royal family, cocooned off from the rest of the kingdom by magically reinforced steel bars set behind stained glass windows. As the years passed, the queen grew increasingly paranoid. Convinced that a prophecy foretelling the demise of her firstborn child was fast approaching, she consulted oracles, scryed into the depths of time, and even delved into forbidden tomes of necromancy, all to find a way to avert the prophecy. Her only solace was her second child, a daughter born after years of failed pregnancies. And the queen doted on her, lavishing affection and gifts upon the girl who, in turn, became the apple of her mother's eye. One day, as the princess celebrated her 16th birthday, the queen summoned her to her chambers and presented her with a gift. That night, unable to shake the vision from her mind, she fled to her father for comfort. The following day, the queen summoned her, demanding to know why her daughter had disobeyed her orders. Years went by, and the princess grew into a beautiful young woman, yet she was trapped within the confines of her tower. She began to plot her escape, aided by the servants who sympathized with her plight. Yet the princess knew she could not leave her family for good. Then came the night of the full moon. Once they were sure the coast was clear, the couple made their way to a clearing where a horse was tethered. After travelling for several hours, they arrived at a small cottage nestled amidst rolling hills. The oracle continued, her voice grave. As the night wore on, the oracle told them of a legendary artifact hidden deep within the palace, an artifact capable of destroying the sorceress's curse, the mirror maze of the Forgotten Princess. The princess, determined to save her father and break the curse, agreed to try, yet she knew she could not do it without Dorian. With the first rays of dawn, they set out. The princess carrying with her the hope of a kingdom and the love of a lifetime.